there was a woman that was raped by 7 men. And I believe they were waiting at some station for a train or bus to Nepal. And they decided they traveled the whole world and they decided to visit India as the last country to visit. And the thing is, when people posted this on Twitter and they started to talk about this, a lot of people started talking about the negative experiences in India. And I warn people from careless, random traveling throughout the world. Most people, especially if they come from Europe or North America is also more dangerous, but especially if you come from Europe, and that was a Spanish couple, most people don't understand how dangerous the world is. They literally don't understand it. They don't understand that certain territories in the world are ruled by gangs or gangsters, organized crime, criminal gangs, all of this stuff. They don't realize it. And, in order for a criminal organization to function, it needs a lot of criminal elements and criminal people and corrupt people to work in conjunction. You don't just have one guy with a criminal organization. It's literally like hundreds and thousands of people in order to make it work. The mafia is not just 5 people. And this is, and that's just Italy, south of Italy. But organized crime is something that I'm worrying about into the future because I see a dystopian future. But at the same time, I see also that people are basically in a lot of areas of the world are animals where they have no education, no repercussions, and so forth. I believe for this specific crime, the 7 men that raped this woman, I believe there should be the death sentence. And I think it should be a public death sentence because it's the only way to instill and make it very clear to young men that this is not tolerated within a modern society. Because, and this is something Sadhguru talked a little bit about, there's a huge problem of young, uneducated men coming from rural areas into the cities or just, watching porn on their screen, and they start to create this appetite, this lust towards these sexual experiences. And then when their testosterone is fully loaded, they their rational thinking mind just shuts off completely if they have that at all. So I advise I advise everyone that thinks about doing a world travel tour, don't do it. It's literally now, it's if you go into a big city, which is probably a little bit safer than, just random traveling everywhere. But if you're like in a major city, it looks pretty much everywhere the same anyway. So, and it's dirty, it's loud, huge smog, everyone has Wi-Fi. It's not healthy to be in big cities. And to travel randomly, especially as a woman, through rural areas, forget about it. So, and I'm not just saying this about India, I'm saying this about the whole world. I've read stories and I've seen videos, which I don't even want to think about right now, that, where people that are alive are being taken out their organs alive. To give you an example, there is a fake agency that is sending people from Asia to Africa to work, like Philippines and stuff. Chinese fake agency. In reality, they never do work in China. Those people go missing because they're being organ harvested. So you got to be super careful what you do outside of your safety net of your area. And even in Spain, which is, a civilized country in most ways, I'm super careful how I travel, where I spend my night. I'm very situationally aware of, what type of people are around me. If I don't like it, I just drive off. It's better safe than sorry, as they say in the US. Better safe than sorry. Sorry, sorry. And but that's very hard to do if you're quickly traveling through and you don't even have the safety net of your car. If you're traveling through um different areas, of a strange country you don't know. So I don't recommend it to anyone, and I don't think it's worth the experience. I think there is, I mean, I've as a tantra masseur, I've helped many raped women. I would say about 30 women came to me with rape history, with a conscious rape history. And I helped them work through it. And I know for a fact that each one of them was heavily traumatized and it stays forever. It never gets out of your system. Um, and that's super important to understand that when you're putting yourself into those risky situations, um, that you will be, if you come out alive, you will be traumatized for the rest of your life. And that's just not worth it for one Instagram story. I traveled to Nepal. And this is one of the problems for many young people is they do these crazy things just for one short on their Instagram or wherever. Just to and it's an interesting competition thing because when I make a super simple snapshot of the beach, everyone is like, yeah, get out of here. Everyone has that. But when you travel, that's why also like the Kurt Katz, or what's his name is, or the Bold and Bankrupt, why it's so interesting because they're literally going where other people wouldn't normally go. And but they're very simple guys that relate very much to the local guys, or at least they can fake it. This couple that where the woman got raped, they're the very obvious kind of Instagram travelers where they have probably very little situational awareness. And quite honestly, with a girlfriend of mine, I would never go to India like that. Never, if I had one. Um, and I wouldn't randomly travel with her. I would be like, okay, let's take, a nice hotel in a nice resort, just hang out, enjoy, if that's what we want, but not like rural traveling for some idiotic Instagram story. Yeah, most people are not aware of how dangerous the world is. They're literally not aware of it. And I think it's a little bit like Sadhguru said. There is the spiritual awakening, which is the most important in life, but you've also been given a brain. You can use your brain. You don't have to not use your brain. And even Eckhart Tolle says there is space for thoughts. You know, there is a time for thoughts. And sometimes, I mean, you have to often, from my perspective, you often have to just to look what brought them into the idea of having to travel this much. What brought them into the idea they need to visit every single country of this world. Um, and often, more often than not, there is something unresolved behind it. It's not really just curiosity. There's often something else behind it. Um, I mean, who comes up with the idea? It cannot be heart intuition. Who comes up with the idea that I'm like, I need to see every country of the world instead of just saying, hey, I go where my heart intuition is telling me to go. That's totally different. Your heart is not telling you you need to see every country in the world. And a lot of people leave. This is super interesting. A lot of people leave certain countries because they know how really dangerous it is. There's a reason why so many Colombians leave Colombia and try to live in Spain or wherever, because they know what it's like. The problem though is slowly Europe is changing, so slowly Europe is also not that safe anymore. And that's all I wanted to say. Be careful out there. And I'm not going to India. I'll bring the Indian girls. If I want an Indian girl, I bring her to me. I'm not going to India. I think a country that cannot deal with this. Germany is pretty much the same right now, but a country that cannot smartly deal with these things, um, I don't want to visit.